Hello and welcome to the Maine Take. My name is Dana Connors. I'm the president of the State Chamber, and I'm pleased to be your host for a program brought to you by the State Chamber twice a month. Each episode, we take a look at some of the initiatives, the ideas, and the issues at play in our state, and often try to find the people behind those issues, initiatives, and ideas because they're at work to improve our lives as well as our livelihood in our great state of Maine. Today, we have two very special guests whose work, whose ideas, and efforts clearly speak to the intent of this program. Chances are you've seen or participated in what they do. And what they do, I can guarantee you, lifts our spirit as well as contribute to the success of our state's economy. They do that by showcasing for us the positive of our state. They do that by sharing the opportunities that we have in the state. And by doing that, they remind us to not take for granted many times the things that we simply overlook. And most of all, have us to come to grips with the fact that we are very fortunate to have what we have and to appreciate where we live. Our two guests are Erin Ovalle and Jenny Kordick. I apologize, Jenny. We're going to begin with Erin, but first of all, let me simply tell you a bit about each of them. Erin Ovalle is the creator, the executive producer, as well as the host of Maine Life. It started about 2016 when she created Maine Life Media Productions. Maine Life is one that you see as well as Places and Spaces, also Dock and Dine, as well as some others. You're going to see that regularly on television, and we're grateful that it's available to us. It's an outstanding effort that promotes our state in ways that we can't say enough good about. Jenny Kordick joins us as well. Jenny is Executive Director of Maine Outdoor Brands. She has close to 150 members who are either in the recreation for the experience or in retail associated with recreation. The whole purpose is to make us aware of the opportunities that exist in recreation outdoors, to realize its impact on our lives and our livelihood, and most of all, the opportunities that exist and the place it plays in our economy. So let's begin with Erin. And Erin, I can't thank you enough for being with us today. It's great to see you again. I was going to say in person, but that's not exactly true. But I do see you every weekend on your shows, and I commend you for the effort as well as the actual presentation itself. It is such a great series that you've put together on behalf of Maine. I do want to begin, though, by saying also that Maine is well known as an entrepreneurial state. We are a small business state. Ideas generate, they get born, and many of them come to bear, and it's a strength of our economy. Well, you certainly are an entrepreneur because I recall about 2015, 2016, we could see you on a regular basis as an anchor on television, pretty predictable place. And then all of a sudden, that entrepreneurial spirit kicked in, you left, you created what I just described, Maine Media Productions, and here you are. How did you go? How did that come about? What motivated you to leave the safe environment and take on that? Even though you've done extremely well, you'd be the first to tell me that it had some risk that went with it. How did that all start?
Yeah. Hi, Dana. Thank you. It's always nice to see you. How did it start? Boy, I've been thinking about this a lot lately as I grow and look back at my life, even in college, and the seeds that were planted along the way back when I was 19, 20 years old. there were just things in my life that kind of set me up to have the idea of the show Maine Life. For instance, my internship at WMUR in New Hampshire for Chronicle, a lifestyle magazine program. So that was just kind of in the back of my head always, as something in the newsroom that wasn't hard news, but it was lifestyle focused and a lot, longer form storytelling. So that was always in the back of my head. And obviously I got into the news world and moved my way up on the anchor desk. But it was just, I think, the timing. My contract was coming up. I think I was 32 at the time, and said, well, if I'm going to sign another 3-year contract, then I'll be 35. And then what, and all those factors were just kind of playing in my head, and my experience interning. And I just looked over to my co-anchor, and she was wearing a shirt that said Mom Life on it. She was a new mom. And the light bulb went off, and I said, I'm going to start a show called Maine Life, and it's going to be about lodging, dining, activities, business, nonprofit, and all the stories that, unfortunately, a lot of the news, rooms can't produce on a daily basis because of, restrictions with staff or what have you. But so I left, and I figured out how to, form an LLC and do all the business, things on the back side that people have to figure out.
Well, as you say, or as often is said, and the rest is history, but I commend you, because it was a risk, but the rewards of what you've been able to accomplish is really significant and very helpful to our state's economy. How many shows actually do you have? I mentioned 3 of them that I'm familiar with and had the opportunity to watch, but I know that there's more than those 3. Can you tell us about those that you have and a little bit about each?
Yeah, sure. And I just first want to say that I have so many people to thank, because, including you, and I cold called so many people along the way to ask for advice. So thank you. I started with Maine Life, my baby. Never think I would have more than one. But so Maine Life is lodging, dining, activities, really lifestyle focused business, and some nonprofit. And then Places and Spaces is more real estate, design, and community focused. It's a love and kind of hobby I have for real estate and design. I'm that person that's on realtor.com at night, just kind of perusing through different neighborhoods and stuff. So I kind of just had that idea to talk about not so much real estate, the numbers, how much something sold for, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right, but really like the neighborhoods, the community. Why do you want to live in Scarborough? Why do you want to live in Washington? Kind of the community around it, and then talk about some of the neighborhoods and types of homes or developments that are happening. So that's Places and Spaces, and that's the show we can talk about later if you want about expanding. I have a new show coming out hosted by Connor Clement. He is going to be doing Maine Life off season. So it's going to be after Maine Life on Saturday nights. And that is talking, he just shot, for instance, in North Haven, and he went to the island, went to the school, and talked with some locals about what it's like to live in a tourist destination in the summer in the off season, and why people choose to live there. I have a new show coming out after that this spring called The Maine Food Story. So if you've watched Maine Life, we love to eat, and we eat very well.
That's right.
And so I felt like 30 minutes really didn't give enough time to go dive deeper into the retail industry and the farmers and the creators and the chefs. 30 minutes so fast, we can only touch the surface. So that show is really exciting, and is diving a little bit deeper into, for instance, Maine grains and all they've done, and people and farmers they've helped in Maine. And then let's see, New Hampshire Life. I started that last year, and have a wonderful team in New Hampshire, and basically is the same model of Maine Life that is in New Hampshire. And then I have two other shows I created, but they are on a COVID hold because of funding. But that was This Is Maine, and that was airing regionally on New England Sports Network. And Cheers for Maine, which kind of dove into our craft brewing and distilling industries.
Yeah. So I'm accustomed to watching the ones that you mentioned at the outset on Saturday, but could you tell our listeners, our viewers, when the show is broadcast and where they might see it, at what time?
Yeah, I have a wonderful partnership with News Center Maine, both here in the Portland DMA and Bangor, and they air my show on Saturday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then a lot of times they'll rerun it around 8:30 in the morning on Saturdays. And then Sundays at 10:30, you could see some repeats or new shows of New Hampshire Life starting in the new year.
Nice. I have to say that in the acquaintances that I have out of the state, a lot of them being either friends or people in the business that I'm in, chamber world, that they watch the show. They speak very highly of the show. You mentioned New Hampshire, but talk about your plans. I've also heard the rumor that you have shot an episode or two in South Carolina and possibly even more on a national basis. Tell us what that's all about in the plans. I hope it doesn't mean we're going to lose you here. I hope it means
No.
you're just building
I'm here
your
to
career.
stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave you, Dana. No.
Well, thank you.
I have so
That
many.
makes me feel better. It's good.
So I was, yeah, again, just kind of getting that itch. Maine Life is going on season 7 next year, which is a really proud moment for my team and I. And so I just kind of wanted to explore other opportunities and inspiration from national folks that do what I do. And so I shot a pilot in Charleston, South Carolina. And I really, the only way I can explain how I came up with that was people kept telling me how much Charleston reminded them of Portland, Maine of the South. So Portland, Maine is a lot like Charleston, I guess, with the food scene and the history and all that. So I just went down and again, cold called some people, got connected and shot 3 shows there, and one most recently in Bethel. It's the Places and Spaces brand. So we just partnered with Sunday River and some folks in Bethel. Rory at Maine Studios helped spearhead that. And so we've got 4 shows now in the pipeline to air regionally and potentially nationally in 2022.
Well, I suspect, knowing you as I do, that you're being a bit modest, but they wouldn't reach out to you in South Carolina or in Austin unless they had seen the show and liked what they saw. So that's for your future. That's wonderful to know of that, and congratulations. That's great work. Tell me this: how do you pick the communities? I mean, Maine is what, 495 municipalities, and every show brings out a uniqueness that, as old as I am and as much as I've seen of this state because of the jobs I've had, I'm always struck by there's that new restaurant or there's that new lodging place that I didn't know exist. How do you pick your area, your community, and the businesses that you showcase?
Yeah, folks have said, aren't you going to run out of places, to go? And I don't know how long Bill Green's been on the air for so long, and he, never repeats something probably. So no, there's so many things. I could go back to the same community and tell a whole new, story and have a new show. But my team is great. My friends, my social media community. I've teamed up with Vanessa Santorelli, who is the producer, co-producer. So she's a lifelong Mainer, and she knows, and that's, she eats and breathes Maine. So she's a great resource and has a lot of contacts. Just inspiration today, talking to my friend Will about maybe we should do a show on some of the places that I just are my tried and true favorite go-to places that are a little off the beaten path, that people might not know. So a combination of my team and people like you and viewers who write into me, then tell me about places.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a combination. Team effort.
Yeah. Well, I'm so impressed with the number of efforts that you've already put in place, but also the future plans, knowing that even with your energy, that it does take a team, but it takes somebody at the top with that vision and that expectation. So I I have to say, you are right out of casting for this job. I can think of no one that could come close to matching your enthusiasm, your energy, your personality, and every show just oozes the fact that you love what you're doing. And boy, that shows, and that is such a special gift. I don't know how else to say it. So,
Oh, thank you. We live in
yeah,
Maine. I mean, it's a pretty cool place to promote.
yeah. Well, yeah, but it takes a program like yours to remind us of that because so often, and this is not just Mainers, but so often we take for granted what we have or overlook the special features of our state. And it's wonderful to be reminded. And it also plays into the success of our economy. So it provides a tremendous service. So thanks so much, Erin, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you.
Same here. And don't go away. Hang
No,
tough.
I'm here. I'm here to
Yeah,
stay.
thanks.
All
I
right.
do, thanks. I do want to turn our attention to Jenny Kordick because Jenny has a very special role to play in our economy at any time. But during this pandemic, I suspect has taken on new value. Jenny is the executive director of the Maine Outdoor Brands. And Jenny, welcome very much to the show. It's a pleasure having you with us. And I'm anxious to talk with you about something that is important, but you speak of taken for granted, is probably our outdoors, our recreational facilities that we have in abundance that's right at our fingertips is often overlooked, but it plays an important role in our economy. So thanks for being with us today. And I'm dying to have you talk about your organization. So let's begin there. How long has it been in existence? And talk about its establishment. Why was it created in the first place?
Yeah, thanks, Dana. Thanks for having me. I always think it's a little ironic to be talking about the outdoors online over Zoom, but I'm really happy to be here. So Maine Outdoor Brands, and we say MOB for short. So we were formed in 2017, and I wasn't there, but as the story has been told to me, it actually was not the origination of Maine Outdoor Brands was not in Maine. It was out in Salt Lake City at the outdoor retail show at the time. So that's the national, trade show for the outdoor industry. And a number of the kind of key brands in Maine were there at the show. L Bean, Flowfold, Good to Go, Stable, Blaze Partners. And these brands got together, they went and grabbed a beer and said, why does it always take us to come out west to connect? Like, we should be connecting more in Maine and supporting one another and, figuring out how we can work together to grow the outdoor economy. And so they came back to Maine and formed Maine Outdoor Brands. And at the time, there was other states around the country that had started forming offices of outdoor recreation. And we thought that would be a great next step for Maine, just given, as you mentioned, how important outdoor recreation is to the state. And so, that was during the LePage administration asking for this Office of Outdoor Recreation to be created within the Department of Economic and Community Development. And that was kind of the first initial advocacy ask of Maine Outdoor Brands. And that office was created, and now Caroline Ouellette is the director, and we work really closely with her. So I think, with Maine Outdoor Brands, starting there with the state kind of increasing investment in the outdoor industry, we've really been able to grow and launch.
Well, you certainly have, and the proof's in the pudding, as my mom used to say, is that in what, 4 years, you're now up to like 150 businesses, and those businesses are either in recreation for the experience, as I understand it, or perhaps in retail that's part of recreation. So that's a very impressive accomplishment, and it really does show a concerted effort to bring to the public's attention the opportunities that exist, the value and the impact that it has within our state. And it is right at our fingertips. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned, and I won't say I was surprised, but it caught my attention when I read about the economic impact. And I'd like to have you expand upon that. I was struck by that we are in the top 5 states in which outdoor recreation, based upon the contributions it makes to the gross domestic product, places them in the top 5 in the US. That is impressive, but you can expand upon that if you would. What does that mean? Is that 5 billion a year, 3 billion a year, 1 billion a year? What is that dollar amount?
Yeah, it's huge. So it's about $3 billion a year. And yeah, for the past couple of years, we've been in the top 5 in terms of that economic impact that we have on the state as a percentage of our state's GDP. So when we look, at who else is, around the country kind of up there, right? It's some of the key states that you think about the outdoors, Hawaii, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. And so it's awesome to see Maine there as well. And we, you mentioned, the service side, we have guides and outfitters that are, directly getting people outdoors, sporting camps. We have the retail stores. We also have manufacturers. That's a growing piece of our industry. So the brands that are making the outdoor gear and equipment that you take outside. And that's an exciting growth opportunity for us as well. So when we look at that economic impact, I think it kind of spans the state in terms of the different, the different sectors and also the different seasons. I think that's a unique thing about Maine is that we have like 4 seasons of recreation to support a winter outdoor recreation economy, obviously a really great summer outdoor recreation economy as well, having the mountains, the oceans, lakes, we really have it all. And it's just
well said. We do have it all, and it's here for year round. So it makes it really a contributor. Also, I was struck with the fact that standing of one of the top 5 was based upon the fact that when you compare, if I may get this wrong, hopefully I don't, you correct me if I do, that the contributions to our economy in Maine is 3.3% of our economy, whereas the national average is 1.8%. So it really puts us in a very favorable position. And I'm sure that during the pandemic, and I'd like to have you expand upon this, I mentioned at the outset, during the pandemic, that outdoor recreation took on a new value, an increased importance to people.
It really did. Yeah. We, we've as many industries in the state, we are certainly impacted, and there's been supply chain issues. We had store closures initially, but sort of early on in the pandemic, right, it became really clear that being outdoors was the safest place to be. And it was just a great way to get out, spend time with others. And we saw a huge new wave of people picking up outdoor recreation for the first times, right? So going out and hiking and camping and biking and kayaking, just a new customer base. And that really has given a big lift to the industry. And in terms of just, some of the economic stats we saw in 2020, just huge increases in boating and fishing was up 27%. The value that biking added to Maine's economy was up 15%, right? You probably heard about everybody trying to get bikes and maybe having a hard time doing it. We also saw an increase in manufacturing as well. So the pandemic has been, and just in terms of the more people getting outdoors, it's been really great for the outdoor sector. And I think it's promising sign for us going forward, and just the important role that Maine can play in helping people, get outdoors.
Yeah, and stay safe at the same time. I mean, it had everything working for it. I read recently where you have been the outdoors, well, your organization, I believe, it has received close to $12 million, 11.8, I believe I read, from the America's Rescue Plan. What would that money be used for?
Yeah, so that was from the Economic Development Administration. It's $10.8 million from a special, a special section of that American Rescue Plan that was specifically for travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation. And I think that there's been obviously this realization that the outdoor recreation industry has been so important during the pandemic, but it's also put a strain on some of our resources, right? Mm-hmm. So as more people have been getting outdoors, I think it's underscored the need for us to be investing in the infrastructure, the trails, the bathrooms, the awareness, and maps, and just education for people to have enjoyable and safe outdoor experiences. And so that funding is going to actually be going to the Department of Economic and Community Development, with the Maine Office of Tourism and the Maine Office of Outdoor Recreation. And it'll be used, I think, for a variety of purposes, including that, supporting the outdoor recreation infrastructure, and just supporting the kind of broader growth and planning for the industry, right? We've recognized a huge need to invest further and think about what does the future of our industry look like, and how can we be supporting the companies and the workers to ensure that we are going to be successful in the future.
Mm. I've got to believe that in listening and appreciating what you're saying about the impact of value on outdoor recreation, that the issue of lands for Maine's future has to play a prominent role or be a priority for your organization. Is that the case? I mean, has that been an associated priority of yours as these bond issues come forward and the voters get a chance to weigh in on it?
Yeah, I think one of the thing that connects all of our members is being in Maine and being connected to the outdoors, right? And we need, as an industry, we need places to go outdoors for our customers to have places to go hike and bike and camp. And so it's really important for us as an industry to be supporting efforts that are protecting lands and waters and access for people to get outdoors. And I think the Land for Maine's Future program is just a great example of that. And it was, was really great to see that move forward this past year.
Well, you are a real testament to another very important feature of the state of Maine, the advantages that we have, that you can quite often step out your back door and have the accessibility to our great natural resources that we have, the bike paths that exist, the waterways that are available to us. So much is at our fingertips when it comes to being able to appreciate recreation outdoors. So we thank you and your organization for making it a priority and putting it in front of all of us, so that we don't take it for granted, that we do appreciate it, and most of all, we avail ourselves of it, because it really does matter when it comes to a successful economy, whether it's here or any other state for which recreation is a priority. And clearly in Maine it is, and you speak to that very well. So I thank you as well. The two of you have been great guests today, and I'm extremely pleased that you were available to us. Peter Van Allen normally joins us at this time to talk about a positive feature that they've had recently in the magazine, but Peter unfortunately had a conflict and could not be with us. So that takes me to really the wrap up of our show, which you traditionally have come to know it as the takeaway. And in that respect, as I reflect on today's program, I think it really continues the theme that we started our most recent show about 2 weeks ago, in which we, even though we acknowledge that we have problems that exist, the pandemic is real and it continues to wage the war against this state as well as all states, as well as the world. But there are positive things that are happening in our economy that we don't want to overlook. We do not want to take it for granted because of the impact that it has on our people, our lives, and our livelihood. And last week, as a reminder, we looked at the holiday season, and what we found was a very strong retail sales, that we found the demand for products and services are very strong. We found that the restaurants and lodging industry since June to September has been exceptional, exceeded what was in place in 2019. As a matter of fact, the first 9 months, you could say the same thing. Buy local was a priority this season. And certainly our state revenues have reflected a very positive trend. And today, this program we built on the positive value proposition that plays an important role in our economy. Positive in the terms of what we have in our state, positive in the terms of what makes our state so special, and certainly reminds us of our good fortune and tells us one way or another that we should not be taking things for granted. As a matter of fact, we should be celebrating our good fortune, our advantages, our opportunities. Maine Life, who's been with us now since 2016, and we're grateful that it goes about promoting our state in such unusual ways of bringing the communities of our state to life through the people, the products, as well as the unique things that they provide for our state. It doesn't stop at the community. It highlights all parts of our state over the course of time. It is such a blessing to have. And Maine Outdoor Brands really does speak to a wonderful asset, a richness that we have of recreational opportunities. The opportunities we have out our back door, as I mentioned earlier, to be able to escape, but also to enjoy. But when you think of the economic impact it presents to our state, that too is significant in terms of the dollars, in terms of our standing in one of the top 5 states. When you think of the contributions to the gross domestic product, both programs extremely impressive, and we are blessed to have both of them because of their importance. You know, in my position, I've been asked, particularly by people from other chambers of commerce throughout our country, Dana, I've been to your state for vacation, and I've acknowledged a certain spirit that exists there. If you had to describe your brand to us, what are the attributes? What are the things that drive success in your state? My answer is always the same. It's one word. It's quality. Quality of our people, quality of our products, and quality of our place. And today's guests and their programs bring to us confirmation that that is so true, that is so valuable, and something that we need to remind ourselves of. We also need to remind ourselves of the tremendous value that Maine Life, Maine Media Productions and their accompanying show, and Maine Outdoor Brands, their value in their efforts, how they contribute to the success of our economy. Indeed, they do. I hope we never take that for granted, and I hope we support them in every way possible. Why is that all important? Because we do know that economists remind us all the time of the role that consumer confidence plays in our economy. And what is consumer confidence? The economists will tell you also, it's attitude. It's that positive attitude. And how do you gain that positive attitude? Well, through awareness brought to us by programs like today, the initiatives that we've just discussed with Erin and Jenny, and to appreciate what we have, the opportunities, the advantages. It really is. I'm reminded of the author Alec Haley when he wrote the book Roots, that it's always important to find the good and praise it. And I think today's program tells us why that's important. And I hope we understand the importance it has in our economy. That is our program for today. I want to thank our guests. They were outstanding. I also want to remind people that we normally have this every other week, but our next show is scheduled for the 28th of December, but we're going to hold on that. That's the week between Christmas and New Year's, as you all know. It's a time for the families to get together and to show the appreciation they have for one another. So the next show will be on January the 4th. We'll pick up the new year when the legislature convenes on just about that very same day. In the meantime, I do want to take this occasion to be sure that I wish everybody health and happiness in the days ahead, that you actually are successful and that you're satisfied in the ways that are important to you. And I think it's also appropriate and meaningful that we just take a moment during this time, not necessarily on this show, but to reflect on it as you leave into the holiday season, and to be grateful for what we have, to be reminded of the challenges that existed by way of this tornado that struck in ways that no one really anticipated and left in its path destruction that is hard to understand, and the people that are grieving because of it, particularly in Mayfield. Our hearts go out to them. Our prayers are in support of their efforts to recover and to find ways, positive ways to move forward. We wish them the very best as well. To you, until next year, it's been a wonderful year. I hope you've enjoyed our program, and we look forward to the new year with new programs to bring to your attention. With that, I bid you well, and we'll see you next year.